Okay, first lesson of the year, properties of real numbers. Now, hopefully you're familiar with a lot of these properties, and if not, it's just going to be a great review. So if we're going to start by just looking at a real number line, and here's an example of a real number line. Here, we're starting from -5 going up to 5, and our scale is 1. We're going up by 1 every time. And they're asking us to graph the following values: 3, -5/2, 11/10, square root of 3, and -0.3. So when we do that, we have to look and see at value, like where do these things sit. And I'm just going to go in line and actually just start to graph them. And start with 3. 3 is pretty easy because it's a whole number and it appears on our number line. So I'm going to go ahead and put a dot here and say that this is 3. Moving on, I have -5/2. Sometimes people like to convert that to a decimal, like -2.5 to help them figure out where that would be on the number line, right? So -2.5 would be between -2 and -3, and we would say that -5/2 is here. And I'm always going to use a dot to represent where my value lies or where that solution lies. 11/10, again, some people might want to put that into a decimal, 1.1, to figure out kind of where that would be. Although when I graph it, I do want to label it how they gave it to me. So that would be 11/10 would be right here. Next one is the square root of 3, right? So the square root of 3 is somewhere between 1 and 2, and it's actually closer to 2 when you plug that into your calculator. So I'm going to go ahead and put that dot right about right here. Go ahead and plug it into your calculator if you're not sure what that value is. Here I'm going to go to -0.3. Okay, that's going to be between 0 and -1, but closer to 0. So I'm going to put that dot about right here. So now I've labeled it, and if I wanted to, I could now list them in order. It's easy to list them in order now that I've put them on the number line from smallest to largest. So now it says use the number line to help compare values, and right, I just said that I can compare or I can order them from smallest to largest or largest to smallest by using that number line. And now that I've got those, I can compare these two numbers. So which one is larger, smaller, etc. I can use different symbols. So here, -5/2 compared to -0.3. So here, looking at the number line, -5/2 is more to the left on the number line, which means it's smaller than. So I would want to go ahead and use the less than symbol here. I could rearrange this, but try to keep it just in the same format and then choose your symbol, you know, less than, greater than, or equals to, based on the order here. Next problem, I have 3 compared to the square root of 3. So if we look here, 3 is to the right of the square root of 3, and to the right means it's greater than. So here I would use the greater than symbol. So that's just a couple of review things on just properties of real numbers on the number line. Let's take a look at some of the properties that we talk about and what we say that those properties are, how we describe them algebraically. So closure is the first property we're going to talk about. And we're going to talk about numbers A, B, and C, and they are real numbers. So all of these properties are for real numbers. Real meaning they're not imaginary. Okay, so closure. Closure means that if I add, for the closure property of addition, means if I add two real numbers together, I'm going to get a real number. Okay, so A plus B is real. Okay, same thing for multiplication. If I multiply two real numbers, I'm going to get a real number. Okay, A times B is real. That is the closure property. Then I have the commutative property. The commutative property says order doesn't matter. So for addition, A plus B is the same as B plus A. Or for multiplication, A times B is the same as B times A. The associative property is grouping doesn't matter. And I always had a hard time when I was in school with commutative and associative and confusing the two. But I always think about commutative as moving, commute. So order doesn't matter. And associative is like, who do you associate with? Your grouping matters. So here, if I were to group A plus B and then add C to that grouping, it would be the same as adding A to the grouping of B plus C. The same thing works with multiplication. If I were to group together and multiply A plus B and then multiply that by C, it would be the same as multiplying A times the grouping of B times C. The identity property. Identity, you're not changing the identity. You're not changing the value. So for adding, the number that we can add to anything and not change its value is 0. So here we would have A plus 0 is equal to A still. That is the identity property of addition. And the identity property for multiplication is 1. 1 is the one number that we can multiply by anything and still not change its value. So these numbers, 0 and 1, 0 we call the additive identity, and 1 we would call the multiplicative identity. The inverse property says, what can I add to a number, or for addition at least, what can I add to a number to get to 0, to get back to that additive identity? And the answer here is the opposite, right? So we would add the opposite. So A plus negative A would give me 0. Think of this as being like 3 plus negative 3. For multiplication, what can I multiply by to a number to get back to the multiplicative identity in this case, which would be 1? It would be the reciprocal. A times 1 over A would just give me 1. So the inverse takes us back to the identity for that property. So for addition, we're going back to 0, and for multiplication, back to 1. Finally, we have the distributive property, and most of you guys are familiar with distributive property now. It says if I'm multiplying multiplying a product of something and a sum, I can distribute that thing that I'm multiplying, the number A, into my sum. So this is the same as A times B plus A times C. Okay, and a lot of times when we do this, we use little arrows to show our multiplying going in and showing the distributive property. So on the homework, you're going to have to go through and identify all of these properties. So here, let's take a practice at this. I want to take a look at some examples and tell what property it is, and be specific if it's for addition or subtraction, or sorry, addition or multiplication. So here I have 7 plus 4 is equal to 4 plus 7. Here it's the order that's changed, so commutative, right, like commuting, it is the commutative property. And this is for addition. Next problem here, I have 9 times 1/9 is equal to 1. So I'm multiplying two things together to get back to an identity, and this is the multiplicative identity. So I already know this is for multiplication. And when I'm multiplying something to get back to the identity, this is the inverse property. And it's for multiplication. I'll just do a dot for multiplication. Next problem, I have 5 plus 9 plus 12, when 9 and 12 are in parentheses, is equal to 5 plus 9 in parentheses plus 12. So this is grouping, and that means it's the associative property. And we have only addition here, so it's the associative property of addition. Here I have 250 times 1 is equal to 250, so the value didn't change. I multiplied it by a identity, so this is the multiplicative identity. So this is the identity property. Okay, and it's for multiplication. Last one here, I have 4 times 5 plus 25. So it looks like I'm distributing that 4 in to get 4 plus 5, or 4 times 5 plus 4 times 25. So this is the distributive property. Okay. If you in your homework don't want to put property down every time, you can put commutative of adding, inverse of multiplication, associative of adding, etc., etc. let's take a look now at a review of operations. So we have our 4 basic operations are adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. And I want to take a look at these 4 things. So can you do what's asked of you here? What is the sum of negative 9 and 2? Well, sum indicates adding, so I'm just going to add these together. Whoops. Okay. Negative 9 plus 2 is negative 7. Difference. Difference is subtracting. Here I've got fractions I'm subtracting. 5 1/2 minus negative 3 1/3. The first thing I would notice is that I don't have common denominators, so I'm going to need to make these into mixed numbers in order to do the subtraction. I would do that by multiplying 5 times 2 and then adding 1 to give me 11 halves. And here I would have 3 times 3 plus 1, that is 10. So this is going to be negative 10 thirds. And the subtraction, double subtraction here, you think adding the opposite, well, it actually ends up just becoming addition. Now I need to create common denominators. My 2 denominators are 2 and 3. Common denominator would be a 6. If I think about what did I multiply 2 by to get 6, 2 times 3 is 6, so 2 times 3 is 6. 3 times 2 is 6, and 3 times 11 would be 33. On this one I have 2 times 3 is 6, and therefore 2 times 10 is 20. And now I can add those together to get 53 sixths. Now if you want to put it back into a mixed number, you would rewrite this as from this improper fraction into a mixed number. Divide by 6, so 6 goes into 53 8 times. And then you would have 5 left over, so 5 sixths. Okay, last one, product of negative 2 and 7. Multiplying negative 2 times negative 7. Negative times a negative gives me a positive for a positive 14. So just go ahead and review your negative rule when you're adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. Last one is quotient. Quotient is dividing. So the quotient of 10 and negative 1/2. Well, remember that dividing is the same as multiplying by the reciprocal. So I'm going to rewrite this as 10 times, and I'm going to do the reciprocal of negative 1/2, and that's negative 2 over 1. So I always keep the negative on top, even when I do the reciprocal. And remember that reciprocal is not the same as opposite, so I would still be negative. Here, 10 times negative 2 would give me negative 20. Last thing is just to go over a couple word problems, and then you can go ahead and work on your assignment. So here I have a word problem. It says, I work 4 hours for $36. What is the hourly wage? So you have to kind of think critically and thinking, I got a total of for $36. I want to know how much I made per hour. That's going to be division. So I'm going to want to divide out. Okay. 36 divided by 4, that's going to give me $9 per hour. Next one I have, I'm traveling 2.5 hours at 50 miles per hour. How far did I go? Well, if every hour I'm driving 50 miles, that's going to be multiplying. If you think about distance is equal to rate times time. I'm sure you did that in your physical science class. So here I would say my distance is going to be equal to 2.5 hours. That's actually my time. Times my rate, which is 50 miles per hour. Okay, and so then my distance here, 2.5 times 50, gives me 125 miles. And actually, if we think about looking at, this is really miles per hour, so I could use a slash there as a fraction. And then we have hours on the top and hours on the bottom. That's how these cancel to give me just miles. So take a look at the assignment. I want you to go through and do practice 1.1 worksheet. It should be a nice review. If you have any questions, please let me know.